You're listening to a DM podcast.
Welcome to Over the Back Fence. I'm Di Edwards.
I'm Nicola Dale, and we're buddies of nearly 4 decades. And yes, we actually do happen to share a back fence.
We do. We love parties, people, inspirational stories, and honestly, making the most out of life.
So join us as we open our hearts, share our stories, and hear from some of the most inspirational people in the world, and have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Hey, Didi.
Hey.
So good to see you. So
Yeah.
what's been happening in the world of
It's been a busy
Didi?
weekend.
Yeah.
It's been a really, really busy weekend. And I was just saying, can't remember what. When did we play golf? Was that
We
Friday?
played golf Friday night, or sort of
Yeah,
late
that was.
afternoon.
That's right. That was fun. It was Nicola who actually got me into golf, and because my sister said to me originally, "Di, it'll be really good for your mind because you follow a little white ball into a hole, so it's great." And then the next thing, Nicola said, "You'll love it," and I went, "No, I can't stand it." And then,
"Come
and then
once."
thanks to Nicola, we both love that. So, and always the drinks afterwards. That's part of
What
the
do they
course.
say? The 19th hole is
Yeah,
is
exactly right.
everyone's favourite.
Totally.
It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
But, I agree with what your sister said. It's one of those things because you and I also used to think, oh, golf is really boring. You have to sort
Yeah.
of be, like, I don't know, so old, retired or whatever, and the attitude there. But it's become a really cool game for people of all ages. But it's that following the white ball, you can forget all your woes and worries.
true.
You can forget about everything else and just focus on that. We have a little hit and giggle on the way. We're a bit naughty.
we
don't
do.
follow all
Yeah.
the rules sometimes. So.
I was brought up with, I'm one of 8 kids, and I was brought up with the philosophy some rules were made to be broken. And Nicola and I on the course, go on, pick up the ball. Don't do that. Don't do that. Anyone looking? No, quick, whatever. All we do is laugh.
You
They can
do.
hear us.
Oh,
And
I
that
think I've found this
secret
ball.
to life, isn't it? If you can laugh at anything,
Yeah,
particularly after Dr. Gladys,
Oh,
with her
that's
L's, love,
exactly. So
laughter.
everybody who hasn't listened to
Yeah.
Dr. Gladys, she's episode 3.
I'm obsessed by
I
her.
know, 103,
Yeah,
The Well-Lived
yeah.
Life. She's
With a
actually,
10-year plan.
With a 10-year plan, I know. And I was going, and you actually said you want to see her at 203, so I would go 10
Seriously.
by 10.
Yeah,
She is a role model. She's an
Yes.
inspiration, incredible.
Yeah.
But you know what else I really enjoyed this last week, Di, was the opening, because we're all about community.
Yes.
And in the community where we live at Palm Beach, a new place, so it's been done up, is called The Joey.
Yeah, that was
and
fun.
And that has opened up,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful.
And it's a lot of people in Sydney go up to Palmy for a day trip, so it's not just
Exactly.
because we live there.
No, that's
but
it.
it's So that was hysterical.
So we
night.
went to the opening of
Yeah,
that, and that was
yeah.
really fun. Beautiful spot. So I hope everyone else out there's had a good weekend or a
Yeah.
good time.
I'm
or
looking forward to the rain at the moment.
Yeah.
Actually, make me slow down. There's
it's
something
gonna be
about sun and energy. I just
humid
go
and stuff like
yeah.
that. But I'll tell you what we've got coming up too is, have you ever got your gear off, Didi, and had a little nude swim?
Yeah, I did it in Thredbo in the
Woo,
river.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the icy cold river last year because there was wind hold on the chairlifts. And I went, oh, well, that's the day done. So I went with the girlfriend, went right up river and jumped into the icy cold river. And of course, I went, oh, God, there's people coming. We ran into the bushes. But I loved it. There's a certain, I don't know, it's almost like I went back to Neanderthal roots. It's like I was like,
yeah.
like really in tune with nature around me and of course, the thrill of the ice cold water. And I don't know, I think we wear too many clothing. I'm so over the end of the day when I take my bra off.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like a dream come true. But
I think sometimes, the thought of a nude swim for some people can be a bit confronting. But the Sydney Skinny is coming up, and I think,
Yeah.
Didi, I'm going to lead it on to
Well,
you.
yeah, absolutely coming up. And we've got 2 fabulous women sitting right in front of us who've been listening to all our weekend gossip, who have chosen to overcome adversity and grief by raising awareness and funds towards brain cancer research. It's an inspirational story about overcoming grief and giving back to the community as a legacy to the people that they loved and they lost. Welcome this morning to Marcella and Sue-Ellan.
Yeah, welcome to the back fence.
Welcome.
So thank you so much. So you've
Yeah.
each got a story. Marcella, can we start with you? So what's your connection? We were talking about the Sydney Skinny, and I guess can you sort of first of all explain what that is, and then we
Yeah.
want to hear more about you.
Well, the Sydney Skinny, I was invited to do it with our CEO, Alana, a couple of years ago.
Woo-hoo!
Charlie said, you've got to do it. And I was really nervous about it
Mrs.
because
Charlie Teo.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I had breast cancer, so I've only got one side, and I thought, I can't strip down, but I did, and it was really invigorating, and I'm so glad that I did it with Alana, our CEO, and we were laughing and working our way through it. But cold water is very good for your brain.
Yes, there you go.
So
That's it.
I felt invigorated afterwards, but my family made me promise I would never do it again.
Letting our listeners know about the Sydney
Yeah.
Skinny, which is actually happening on the 17th of,
Yeah.
of March.
Yeah, 17th
They
of
do it
March.
every year.
Yes, yeah.
And it was fun, but the next couple of years I was just a volunteer. I wasn't in the water.
Congratulations for doing
Yeah,
it, because they sort
yeah.
of say too, it's those few moments of discomfort is in solidarity with all the people who are, like going through the treatments, from brain cancer. So it's bringing money and awareness, and that I suppose if you're feeling that discomfort, whether it's your body or whether it's the cold water, push through, and then the benefits.
That's right, and it just also brought people together. Everyone was laughing, and no one felt uncomfortable by the end of the. We got out of the water and wrapped ourselves
And
in
they give you a
sarongs.
sarong, don't they, when
They
you
give
come
you a
out?
sarong, so they
Yeah.
wrap you in the sarong. But everyone was just laughing and smiling, and it was a really wonderful experience,
And all sorts of people do it?
Yeah,
like
all sorts.
Just
Yeah.
I mean,
So you've
ages
got
and
all
sizes.
different ages. I think
and-
I was the oldest on that day, but anyway.
Yeah.
Wow, that's-
It's pretty unique. It's actually world renowned, the Sydney Skinny and the Charlie Teo Foundation. I was just Googling, I was looking at strange ways to raise money for charities.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this one's really fairly well up there.
Yeah.
But having said that, have you done it?
What about
Sue-Ellan?
yes?
No, so
Okay.
I was there that year,
Yes.
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
felt very uncomfortable because I was asked to be the photographer,
Okay.
and I was the only person clothed.
Because that's my only paranoia. Is
So that was the best job, was
Right.
it?
No, it was awkward because it's
I
like, what am I
imagine.
taking
Well, so
photos
you have
of?
to be careful what you take photos of, I
That's
guess.
right. My husband did it that year, so I much prefer this year round where I will be bearing all.
Oh,
Good
wow.
girl. And how
The
many
first time.
people enter into the water?
There's different waves, so I think each wave has maybe hundreds at a time. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you
Wow,
probably get
that's
a
a
couple of
lot.
thousand
That's a
or
lot.
so. Well, we will be there. I'll
Incredible.
definitely be there.
I'm
And
overseas with
yeah,
your bummer,
Diane is,
'cause
but
I
I tell
really
you what,
wanna-
for any of the
it's a bummer, excuse
any of
the
our over the back fence listeners, Nicola will be getting her gear off. There you
There's
go.
a couple of girlfriends that have done it before.
I've got some other friends
Yeah.
there. We've got our two producers are
Yeah.
coming as
Oh,
well. So
amazing.
we're
Yeah.
part of the gang.
Love it.
We're there, we're supporting, getting it
Yeah.
off, going for a swim. And I'm
Yeah.
not normally, as you know, like the big ocean
No
sort of
shit,
swim,
we're
you
a
know,
Melbourne
like,
girl.
Yeah,
I go,
in the swimming
Nicola,
pools.
I'm going to the beach. Oh no, I'm busy. I'm like, yeah, Melbourne girl. You know what I mean?
But Marcella,
So, yeah.
tell us about, with your background in your producing, you're in radio, you're in media. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then your connection with your late husband Stan.
Well, I started working at 2UW in 1977
Wow.
with John Laws. And I was the switchboard operator, and we had 5 lines and a whiteboard, so we'd have to write the caller up on the board and turn it round. And then Stan came along as a producer, and we just started dating, and we went out together for 3 years, and then we got married. We worked in America. We went to America, and when we came back, I worked for Alan Jones and then Brian Bury and John Stanley.
Yes.
And, it was just a fantastic career, and I sort of kept going up the ladder. Eventually, I was an executive producer.
Yes, yeah.
And it was great. And John Brennan was my mentor,
Oh,
the late John
really?
Brennan, and he
Yes,
was such a
yes.
great mentor for me and for Stan. And, so we
We're
just...
both having trouble with Stan's surname.
Zemanek.
Zemanek,
We're
we
both
want you
coming
to
in
say
going-
it's going
We're both
Zemanek.
going, it's Zemanek. I'm saying Zemanek. No, Zemanek.
Zemanek, it's a great
Zemanek.
one.
So we're talking, sorry, listeners, about Stan Zemanek, who was very, very well known on our airways, but also known, which I used to love, was Beauty and the Beast.
Beast.
Any
Classic
of you
show.
listeners remember that? Because it was so it was so out there, and it was so controversial, but I loved it.
Would it be allowed
mad.
on TV now?
I don't think so.
Interesting
many
point.
things now you think
I
are
don't
so
think
politically
so.
incorrect.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Yeah.
whether those shows could be even.
And he'd shut them down. I was like, whoa,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. But he wasn't like
No
that.
persona.
No.
Yeah, that was just
Because they
his.
say sometimes was he the shock jock, Stan could, sort of say some outrageous things. Is
Yeah.
that correct? Is that...
He did, but he knew if I was awake when he came home that he was in trouble.
Oh, that's great. That's a great one.
Because I would say to
Going
him,
out again.
I would say to him, "You've just got to tone it down."
Right.
And he would listen to me,
Yeah.
but he was nothing like that at home. He was the most gentle, kind, compassionate person. He helped so many kids with drug problems, and he just was a really good guy.
And how long were you married for?
We would have been married 43 years this year
Whoa.
had he survived.
Wow.
So what happened? Can you just tell us about Stan? What happened?
Well, he came home one night and he said, I'm having trouble reading the screens. I think I need to get new glasses. And I said, oh, okay. And anyway, the next day he came home and he said, I've had an MRI and I've got a brain tumour.
Wow.
And I just went into shock.
Yeah.
So we saw a doctor and he said, go home, you'll be dead in 6 weeks. I'm not operating.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I said, that's not good enough. So then we found Charlie, and Charlie said, I can't promise that I'll cure you, but I will give you time. And he gave us 15 months, and which was fantastic because we had a family holiday, a Christmas, and he got to see his granddaughter.
Oh.
She was born 5 months before he passed away. Yeah, so she's got a beautiful photo of him above her bed holding her.
How special.
And she often says to me, oh, Mimi, I don't really know him, but I used to dial 1-800-HEAVEN and talk to him.
Oh, how gorgeous.
Yeah.
So tell us about the journey for you. What I want to know from you is your journey from grief to giving. A lot of people cannot begin to empathise and take stock of trying to deal with the death of a loved one, let alone turn that around to try and help and heal others.
Well, after Stan passed away, Charlie approached me to be involved with
And we're talking about Charlie Teo. isn't it?
Charlie Teo,
yes.
yeah. And he had a foundation called Cure Brain Cancer Foundation, and he asked me to be part of it. And I said, yes, I'd love to. And so I became an ambassador and a board member. So I used to go to functions and I used to talk to families. I used to go and visit families who'd lost someone to brain cancer and try and help them. But it also helped me, which was really special. And I've made some amazing friends, like this beautiful woman here.
So you're not going to...
Yeah, you're not getting away with anything.
We're on to you next, Sue-Ellan.
And so and that's what I did. And so it helped me tremendously.
And for other people listening who are going through grief too, is there tips that you can share?
Have empathy and compassion and understand what people are going through. And everyone approaches it differently. But Stan still gets me great parking spots. He got us one today.
Oh, Stan Angel.
I love it, Stan. Yes.
And, I mean,
That's wonderful.
So
Yeah, and
you
my-
two are aligned.
Yeah,
You're
it's so
called-
funny because
I called
I
the parking
every
angel.
time we go to
Yes,
park at Woolloomooloo, I go, okay. parking
She found one for
angels.
me today.
Oh,
So,
did
so
you?
yeah.
Oh,
So we'll throw in Stan next time.
Yeah,
Might help
thanks,
us
Stan.
even more.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, my girlfriends say to me, oh, he got us a park. I went, oh, great.
We gave us two today.
Yeah,
So thanks, Dan.
and I still think about him. I've got lots of photos of him around everywhere. And, it just helps me to know that I was married to someone who was really special. And, the last thing he said to Charlie when he came out of the operation, he said, what can I do to help you? And that stayed with me. And I thought, Stan said to Charlie.
How's that?
Yeah, and so it stayed
Shows
with
the
me.
character.
No, I
of a
actually
man,
have
isn't it?
goosebumps
Yeah.
at the moment for that. He came out of the operation and said that.
Yeah, what can I do to help
Oh, my
you?
gosh.
Yes.
And so I thought I can carry on his legacy by helping people.
See, they say there's so much in giving back. And
Yeah.
so many people walking around today don't realise the joy that they can receive from giving.
Oh, yeah.
It's a remarkable thing. It's
Yeah.
a roundabout. I just wanted to quickly say that I couldn't do this interview without bringing this to the fore. There's been quite a bit of controversy of late around Charlie Teo, but really, at the end of the day, it's about raising money for brain cancer research. But what's your take on that, Charlie, of late? Because of the media.
Press
Yeah.
and, you know, so what can you say?
Yeah.
Well,
What's
to
yours?
me, Charlie will always be a hero.
There you go.
You know,
Let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, because he gives people hope, and hope for me stands for have only positive expectations.
Oh, that's a new one, Di.
How beautiful
Isn't
is
it?
that?
Thank you for sharing that.
Seriously, the
Wow.
simplest things can have the most major effect that can wash over you. So coming back to Charlie, it's sort of synonymous, his name, to hope.
To me, it is. Yeah, and as I said, he'll always be a hero. And when Stan was dying, I kept him at home, and Charlie came to our house one night and said, I just want to sit with him. And he was doing the Kokoda track the next day. And I said, Charlie, you've got to go home. He said, no, I'm just going to stay here. He said, this is how I want to die, in my own home with my family. And he said, you've created a really beautiful place.
Wow.
So
that's
I was
special.
glad that I did that. But I thought, how many doctors would come to your home and sit there till 3 o'clock in the morning when you're going to do the Kokoda track the next day to raise funds for brain cancer?
And I guess the thing too is, you know, everyone has having a different opinion there,
Yes.
and I think because Charlie also is the one that would take the risks, and I think with every, you know, being a high risk taker for people who wouldn't do it. So I guess when you take the high risks, sometimes there, you know, you get the controversy or something mightn't have always gone right, sadly, in life, you know, for everybody. But the intention and his brilliance, and it goes on. So, you know, Charlie currently is, you know, operating overseas, and saving many lives and giving so many people.
Yeah,
so
I have a
thank you.
personal
Yes.
journey with Charlie. He operated on my father-in-law who had Parkinson's, and I witnessed post-op just normal, back to normal, and gave him, you know, a new lease on life. So, I mean, there's many people have good and bad, whatever, but as you said,
Hope. Wow.
it's
and
a,
that's
it's,
a great
it's a
thing.
beautiful thing to align him with.
Yes.
It truly is. And Sue-Ellan,
Sue-Ellan,
yeah.
you can.
Hello.
Well,
I don't want to
welcome back,
interrupt.
friends.
I feel
You've been
rude.
there. So let's hear a little bit about you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can I share this with you? Because I think it's important for
Is
you to
this
see her
Allegra?
face. Yes.
This is your beautiful.
And I'm shaking.
This was your eldest daughter, Allegra.
Yes.
You have 3 children.
I put
do.
it next to my
Yes.
heart
Yes.
here.
And beautiful Allegra passed away from a form of
Yes, so DIPG.
brain It's called
DIPG or DMG now. They've changed it.
right.
So it's in her brainstem.
Run the stem, right?
Yeah, and your
okay.
brainstem pretty much is the passageway for all your vitals.
Got it.
That's the simplest way
exquisite.
of-
For the
Yeah.
listeners that, because we're not TV, we're holding. Now, what is it? We're holding a little.
Just a little card,
photo
her face,
of
and
Allegra.
then just a
Yeah.
little.
Haven't got glasses
Beautiful
on, but-
6-year-old,
That's all
beautiful
right.
little
Yeah.
Allegra.
Yeah.
And can you tell
Tell
us
us the
about
journey,
Tell us
yeah.
about
So,
Allegra.
well, she's incredible.
Oh, yeah. Still is she's here.
Yes,
spirit.
definitely,
yes.
definitely, most definitely. So in October 2016, I noticed that when she smiled, she actually had a facial paralysis.
Right. I was
And-
wondering what the symptoms were.
Yeah, that's
right.
pretty much all her symptom was.
Okay.
So when she smiled, one side of her face just drooped a little bit
Right.
more than the other. So I actually took her to the GP, and the GP originally diagnosed her with Bell's palsy.
Naturally.
Yes, you
Which
would.
I
Yeah.
understood because
Yeah.
after I gave birth to Allegra, I got Bell's palsy.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
apparently it's common after childbirth. Your
Yes.
body goes into shock or,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
And my whole left side was actually paralysed for months. Yeah. So I obviously believed in that, and plus you're not going to think the worst either.
No.
And 2 months passed. It was December of 2016, and we were organising a little holiday just up the coast with family. And I turned to my husband and I said, I'm just going to take her back to the GP. Like, they had her doing acupuncture. Like, nothing was working. It hadn't gotten worse, but hadn't gotten any better either.
Intuition. Mum's intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took her back to her GP, and she just advised, look, maybe we'll just send her for an MRI in the morning. Still no idea. Like, I walked her in thinking, okay, this is just what they do. We hadn't even made it out of the MRI, and my GP actually called me on the phone and said, why don't you come into the surgery? So I went in. She was visibly upset, and she said the children's hospital's waiting.
Right,
Oh,
right. And what was the journey from there? Like, what was the time frame from diagnosis to
when
leg
she
growth,
passed?
going to the heavens,
Yes.
to be
10
an angel?
months.
10
10
months.
months.
Okay.
So the
And when was she
prognosis
with the-
is 6 to 9 months
Okay,
for what she
right.
had. Charlie did operate on her,
Yes.
even though the majority of her tumour was diffuse, so it was wrapped around bits that obviously couldn't be touched. There was a focal component that Charlie was able to remove.
Wow. So he gave a bit of hope there.
Definitely. And we
That's-
talk about hope, and a lot of people think there's false hope in it. But unless you're living the nightmare and being told that your child's not going to make it to their next birthday, you'll do, within reason always,
Yes.
you'll do whatever's available to you for them.
So you consequently started Little Legs
Little
Foundation.
Legs.
Yes.
Tell us
So-
about
And
that.
you've raised
Yeah.
about $2 million.
Yeah, we have.
Wow.
huge.
Congratulations. I mean,
That's
really.
huge.
Yeah.
Again, like
Yeah.
Marcella, like, you know, against all odds.
Yeah, and giving back.
Giving
You know,
back.
to do
Well,
that.
I think
So
for
tell
us,
us about the Little
it's
Legs.
obviously the reality that the grief's never going to go, right? And
No.
you don't
It's
want it
softened.
to
And it's
either. You
good
don't
tense
want it
now.
to.
And
I
probably
want.
good to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I
then
think
you
that's a
pretend
word of
going, it's all
advice.
a
It's
sudden-
true. Like there isn't a date that all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
expired.
Happy now.
No,
Yeah.
that's never going to happen.
With
Like,
time, it softens.
well, you find other ways of
Dealing
dealing
with
with
it.
it, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think for us, I wish other families had done more. And
Yes.
by more, I mean like an extra 5 minutes of their time. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not.
Yes,
So
yes.
for me, I want to make sure I've played my part for the next family.
Okay, that's
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how does Little Legs work? The foundation you do.
And you donate
so you're,
fundraise
So you're
to Charlie.
connecting
Yeah,
now,
that's
which
right.
is really good.
So-
But we're back to the skinny.
The
dip.
skinny,
Yeah,
that's
skinny.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
skinny. Woo,
All of the above.
All of the
You're
above.
excited.
And so, what the money
Yeah.
She's
goes
got the
to
body
research.
too.
Yeah, so we have an
Getting it off.
We've got
Such a
an
cause.
Allegra's Army grant set up with the Charlie Teo Foundation.
Okay.
So obviously Marino and I have no idea where money should be going. We have the support that we're able to raise it, which is fantastic. But having our money funneled through the Charlie Teo Foundation and their advisory board and all the rest of it makes sense to us.
Managed.
Yeah.
managed
Yeah,
well,
just to
which
make
is
sure
great.
the money's going to the right places and where they need to be.
Congratulations
Yes.
to both of you for your resilience, your strength, your energy, you know, your kindness and giving back, because ultimately,
Yeah.
you know, that's going to touch many people throughout the world in some way, shape or form.
course.
You know, I'm looking at you both just going,
Wow.
Nicola and I started this podcast because we wanted to interview fascinating people who had stories, but ultimately it was about inspiring others,
Yeah.
giving people that boost, get out there. Well,
it.
if you two haven't got that,
I know. Honestly, you are like poster girls.
come
for really,
on,
for our hearts and what we
spades.
believe in. You know,
Yeah.
and it really is, and it is sometimes through the worst times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
make the biggest difference.
It's true.
Definitely,
You know,
definitely.
and I suppose
That's right.
that's like like the positive and hope as well.
Yeah.
That so through adversity. And what about with your other daughters? I mean,
Yeah.
it must have been so. How are they?
Yeah, so
coping?
I've got
What
another
about-
daughter and son.
Yes,
They
son,
were
yes.
2.5 and 3.5 when she passed away.
Wow. But the journey and having a death in the family and still surviving, being the mother, going through the motions with two other children, that must have
Yeah,
been
and-
so challenging.
Yeah, it still is. It's
Yeah,
very
of course
challenging.
it
But
would
in
be.
saying that, I can't imagine her not ever having existed.
Look, I tell you
Yeah.
She's
what,
worth all the pain.
Wouldn't
Do
she?
you know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah, she's
that
worth
is
it.
so beautiful.
She is, though.
And
And
life
she
goes
is.
on. You've got these two little
and,
ones.
And wouldn't
Yeah.
she be proud of you? You
Yeah.
know, we know
I'm
how
proud
proud
of
you
you.
are of her, but really like a mum and
Yeah.
moments like this
Yeah.
and sort of like, spreading the word as well and just continuing on and helping and for
You're
other
going
families.
to go in the
I'm going to go in the nutty.
Such a shame I'm not going to be
No,
here.
I think I can
Yahoo!
I'm setting
No,
a
I
challenge
would have done
because
it.
this one likes ice baths. So I think what we're
I
going to
do.
do is
I do like ice
this one's
baths.
going to be skiing or something in the States.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think you might have
We'll
to
do a
go
live.
in.
We'll do a live cross.
We can do a
Oh,
live cross.
that'd
My
be
God,
good.
you know,
Funny
like
as that. That's
So,
a great one.
We'll do a thing. I'm going
You're not
to
going
do
to let me
that
out.
exactly.
The hook. Damn.
So
no.
listeners, so
Great.
come along, and so
Yeah.
you can actually register online as well too,
definitely.
can't you, for
Yeah.
the Sydney Zoo
And really,
this.
I just, love sitting opposite you two. I know I keep coming back to inspiration, but you know what? At the end of the day, if there's people listening who are feeling a little bit lost or wanting a new direction, at the end of the day, we talk a lot about community, Nicola and I. Just sit back. What resonates with you? Find your charity, find your tribe, give back, because we often interview people and they say, even scientifically proven research, that giving back can help you, A, heal and or B, make you much happier.
Yeah, and
That's
you know
right.
what? And it can be the smallest thing. You know, we were saying giving
course,
back.
yeah.
It can
Yes,
be a simple
so
thing.
true.
It can be getting your gear off and going for a swim.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Literally.
true.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be
Yeah.
the big things,
No,
or
that's
you're on
right.
a
Of
board
course
of a thing. It can just
No,
be the
you're right.
tiniest
Just
little
something
thing.
small, yeah.
Or, you know,
Yeah.
buy someone else a cup of coffee, you know, but
Yeah,
find
that's
those
right.
acts of
Definitely.
kindness.
Absolutely.
We've got a few questiones, so if you could share a back fence with anybody on planet Earth, Marcella, who would it be and why?
It would be my 2 grandchildren, Hamish and Chloe, because when they were small, I lived with them for 7 years after Stan died. I lived with my daughter and son-in-law and my grandchildren. My daughter had a business, so I was the one that took them to school and picked them up, and Hamish still says, "Oh, Mimi, you were always first in line," and so that was a really...
Is that because you pushed in front of the other one?
No, I just
Big
want...
elbows.
We do that a little bit sometimes, don't
She always
we?
got a good park.
I always got a good park because Stan got me the
Exactly. I love that.
And
So the next questione, if you had the opportunity of having a chat to your 20-year-old self, what would you say to her and why?
follow your dreams.
Because you didn't?
Yeah, because I wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh, that's fascinating. Now we're
really?
talking.
And
Wow,
my
you should
parents-
make a great lawyer.
And
Yeah,
my,
so would-
my
yeah.
mother said to me, girls don't become lawyers, you know, and I'm talking about in the 50s, you know.
Right.
And so I didn't. And I don't have any regrets because I loved the career I had, but I would tell my 20-year-old self, follow your dreams. And
Go
I
for
say
it.
that to my grandchildren, follow your dreams.
How lucky are they?
Aren't they lucky?
Should have learnt from experience. And,
Well, we're going
yes.
to reverse. So
Yes,
I'm going to
reverse.
ask you the
Yes.
question then.
Yes.
To what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Probably
Sue-Ellan?
brace yourself. Life's going to throw you curveballs,
Wow, that's a
That
goodie.
is,
and
yes.
you will find the strength to get through them. And take more photos.
Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that advice
yeah.
because no one knows, and I think every day is a gift.
Most definitely.
And no one
Yeah.
knows what tomorrow is going to bring.
That's
I know
right.
sometimes that sounds corny, but
No,
that's the
it's
reality.
true.
And
Yeah,
I
not.
think it's really great that we're reminded of.
If you had a chance to pop over down to the back fence, if you had a choice of anyone in the world,
Can you guess who?
yeah, well, I don't even know why I'm
I
saying
don't
it.
know.
I'm
I
so
think this-
casual
you
with
said
me
anyone.
saying
I know.
it because I know
Questions just
what the answer will
Well,
be.
it'd have to be all our
100%.
angels,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
then it would
Yeah.
kind of make sense as to why maybe their bodies couldn't be here, but
Yes.
being able just to touch base
And what would you say?
would be nice. I'd just give her a hug.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
And
that's,
we'd join you down there, all of us,
Yeah,
and give her
that's
one
it.
too.
Well, I tell you what, you've given
Yeah.
us hugs and you've given the listeners
Yeah,
hugs.
you have.
You really
Both
have
of
been
you.
so
Both of you,
inspiring,
yeah.
really. And we thank you so much.
You are. You
Thank
both.
you
It's
both.
like this heart around you
Yeah,
both. I
actually, I
can
just
see.
got my goosebumps.
Yeah,
when
I
things
mean
all happen that
it. We
way
need
too.
more of you in the world,
Yeah,
to be
we
honest.
really do. So the
Gold.
nudie swim, it's a bit cheeky. There'll be a few
Yeah.
cheeks there. They all like to
There'll be lots of cheeks.
a little bit naughty and nice, so the cheeks are going to be out. My bottom cheeks are going to be out, and it's just such an important cause. And we thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you both
Thank you
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Everyone, thank you for listening. It hasn't been extra special today, Di.
Yeah.
You know.
Angels flying everywhere.
Angels flying everywhere. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And thank you, listeners. So we'll be back in your ears next Monday.
We will be.
Don't forget to follow, rate, and review.
Yep.
Now it's all about the stars. Got room for 5 stars, but Di, what do you think? How many
Oh,
stars do you
I think go for 55 today.
55
Why
today,
not?
I think so.
Go for
Exactly.
it.
But it does make a difference, So
Yeah, it's wonderful if you can. We love you all, and we can't wait to see you next Monday.
next
in your
Monday.
ears.
Yeah. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.